We'll move on and we can talk about Aston Villa, Pete, because we've seen that Moussa Diaby's sale has been confirmed. What did you make of that business by the club, and are we expecting them to reinvest the cash?
Yeah, I think it's good business for the club. It probably came as a bit of a surprise, I think, to Villa to see that they were going to lose Diaby after just one season, and I think because the money on offer from Al Ittihad from the Saudi Pro League was so big that they couldn't turn it down. They thought, right, let's cash in Diaby, because I'm sure at the end of last season, Unai Emery was probably planning for life with Diaby in his side going into the new season as well. But yeah, that offer from the Saudi Pro League has come. They've made a profit on him already after just one season following his big money move from Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, the player, I'm sure, was pushing to make that move to the Saudi Pro League as well, considering how lucrative it would be for him as well. But a club record deal for Al Ittihad, £50+ million. Now in Aston Villa's coffers, they can go out there and reinvest that. And again, I think for me, Diaby started off really brightly at Villa and then sort of faded away a bit, but he still contributed to the team, helped them qualify for the Champions League as well. But Unai Emery is, I'm sure, now planning and looking for replacements for Diaby, because now he's left. They are a bit short, maybe in those attacking areas. If something was to happen to Ollie Watkins, it would leave Villa in major peril, I think, because Diaby, I think he had 19 goal contributions last season as well. So you take that out of the team and everything else, there's still talk that João could possibly leave as well. So yeah, although Villa have been very busy in the transfer market this summer, I think they've spent the most money in the Premier League. I still expect them now, with that money from the Diaby sale, that Unai Emery will now be scouring Europe for possible reinforcements, especially in attack. So yeah, I think it was a good move for everybody involved. Good deal for Villa, a good personal deal for Diaby as well. And Villa will quickly move on and look to bring in a replacement.
One of those names that's been mentioned, Pete, Joao Felix, he's been touted potentially to a move to Villa Park. What sort of fee would they be paying for the forward if he is to sign?
Yeah, it'll be a big deal. Obviously, Joao Felix was one of the most expensive players in the world at one point when he joined Atletico from Benfica. I think it was £140 million. He just hasn't fulfilled his potential. There's no doubt about that. He's been talked about for a long time as being one of the best young forwards in world football, but he spent the last couple of years now out on loan at Chelsea, where although he looked good in places, he didn't maybe show enough to win a permanent move to Chelsea. And then he spent last season at Barcelona, and although he had a decent spell there, he was out of the team a lot of the time in the second half of the season. So I think for Joao Felix himself, he probably needs to go find himself a permanent home. I think his ideal preference will be to return to Barcelona, but I don't think Barcelona could afford a deal for the Portuguese international this year. So the door is open there for Aston Villa to maybe sneak in and sign him. And it does seem that Unai Emery is a big fan of Joao Felix and sees him as somebody who could come to Villa Park and have a major impact in that team. Obviously, Villa, I think, could finance a deal for Joao Felix as well. They're in a better financial position than Barcelona. There's no doubt about that. So I think Athletic Madrid are holding out for around £50 million for Joao Felix. They don't really want to loan him out again, which they have done for the last couple of seasons. They would prefer a permanent sale that they can reinvest that money themselves into their own squad as well. So yeah, I think big transfer fee for Joao Felix, who's just maybe flattered to deceive over the last couple of years. But if Aston Villa can get the best out of Joao Felix, he could be a smart piece of business. But again, he will be big transfer fee and big wages as well. So it's a lot to weigh up there for Villa, but it does seem he is the number one target right now.
One other name that was mentioned, Paul, was Raphinha as well, former Leeds forward. Do you think he would suit a move to Villa Park? And actually, how would he flourish under Emery? How would he do?
Well, I think you saw under Bielsa at Leeds the type of player that he is, which got him his move to Barcelona. I mean, he's a flair player. He was what do we call him, a luxury player at times. But actually, when Bielsa got hold of him and he told him the work rate that was expected in the team, and you saw the work rate of Raphinha, you didn't just end up with a luxury player. You ended up with a luxury player who was willing to put a shift in. He was a hard-working, he was quite combative in the tackle. He was a real battler for the team. And that's obviously what got his move with alongside the flair that he's got. And I think he suits the Premier League, because we see a lot of these players. You just talked there about Joao Felix, flattered to deceive. You look at Joao Felix's record in the last 2 or 3 seasons. His Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, it's just not worked for him. He just doesn't seem to have that edge. And the Premier League move for him would be a big step up and he'd have to prove himself. Whereas somebody like Raphinha, he's done it already at Leeds, and you've seen that he's got that side to him. He's got that edge to him. He's a similar, well, he's obviously left-footed, but he's a similar player to Richarlison, but he's a better player than Richarlison, in my opinion. He's got the similar type of qualities, the attacking wide flair that he's got, cuts in on his left foot, and he's got that combative nature. But he's technically, I think he's a better player. I think under Unai Emery, somebody that if he can harness his abilities down that right-hand side, it'd be a really good signing for Villa. I was really impressed with him in his last season at Leeds. Obviously disappointed that he left, but he earned his move, and he's a top quality player who I think would be a great signing for Villa.
One other name, Pete, that's been mentioned is Conor Gallagher. He's still on the list apparently at Villa. Could their interest ramp up as the season sort of draws closer? What are we expecting for a potential midfielder signing for them?
Atletico Madrid today, we're hearing, aren't we, for Conor Gallagher? That's come to fruition as well.
Yeah, it does seem that Atletico are maybe front runners for Conor Gallagher right now. Obviously, we know he's had this contract saga at Chelsea. It doesn't seem it's getting any closer to agreeing a new deal. Conor Gallagher's preference would be to stay at Chelsea and sign a new contract, but both parties are seemingly miles apart in agreeing that deal. So I think Chelsea are open to offers for Conor Gallagher because they don't want to see him run down his contract and potentially leave on a free transfer. Atletico Madrid could be a good landing spot for him. There's been talk that Kieran Trippier, his England teammate, has given a good recommendation to Gallagher that a move to Spain would really suit him as well. So Atletico Madrid, who knows, if they get that money from a sale of Joao Felix, maybe they'll reinvest that into Conor Gallagher and other players as well. We know Villa like Conor Gallagher, but I think now they've maybe brought in Amadou Onana for midfield. Maybe they'll be happy with that signing in that respect for the midfield department. But you'd never rule anything out with Villa. Ambitious club. They've put their money where their mouth is this summer already, spending so much money. So if Chelsea maybe were to lower the asking price for Conor Gallagher, the closer we get to the end of the window, maybe they could chance their arm and try and sign him as well. But it does seem that Atletico Madrid are leading the race, and probably Chelsea, I'm sure themselves, reluctantly as they are to sell Conor Gallagher, they probably would prefer him to move to a team from abroad rather than to another team in the Premier League.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.